Welcome to this short video and masterclass on wound-based masculinity with me, Paul Garrigan, men's coach. So I'd just like to share with you over the next 10 minutes, if you like, some key concepts in understanding how wound-based masculinity may be showing up in your life and really giving you some tools and techniques in being able to identify this and overcome this so you can step into being the man you know you want to be. So, looking more deeply at wound-based masculinity and what it is and where it actually comes from. So, when we're born as young men, and pretty much from a very early age, we step into the world of being conditioned by the external world, of telling us that our successes and our values coming from what we achieve in the world. And this may look like, being as soon as we're born, as soon as we begin to walk, as soon as we begin to do anything in the world, we see that we're getting external validation for the things that we are doing. Fast forward that into, when we step into the school arena and times of our lives, whether that be nursery or going into primary school. At a very young age, we are then put against other children and we are academically graded, and we are told that we're a good boy for doing well in certain subjects, and showing up in certain ways, and being a pleasant little boy. But equally, and at the same time, there is parts of us that are denied and we are told to not bring out and not show to the world, which may be our anger, which may be our temper, which may be, these little traits of competitiveness that we have within our locker. So we're pretty much at this stage being conditioned from a really young age. And there's a saying that, you hear quite a lot is give me the boy when he is 7 and I will show you the man. So the first 7 years of our lives, we are pretty much being conditioned into, the hamster wheel of what life will look like when we step into mature masculinity and mature manhood. Couple this in, with, the schooling system and the conditioning and the societal conditioning that we face. Couple this in with, our childhoods and the adversities that many of us face in being raised in, different family dynamics. So, a lot of people coming from broken homes, a lot of men not having been raised in a mature and healthy way, certainly not having that strong masculine and male role model in the house in order to teach him and bring him into masculinity in a healthy and secure way. So a lot of men suffer from being brought into masculinity with this strong sense of self, that we are always looking towards the external world to bring us the fulfillment that we seek. So this is pretty much how, for me, the wound-based masculinity is formed from a really, young age, if you like, and continues then very much for most of our lives, for many men. With that then showing up in how we carry ourselves when we are men. Certainly, with the dog eat dog culture and mentality that we see in the world, and that we see in business. And we see a lot of men at the minute overworking, overdoing. It's this push, do mindset and mentality that more work and more effort is going to bring you more reward, which there is an element of truth to. But there is also an element of distruth to that, because it is actually having a negative effect on your state over a prolonged period of time. Now, this doesn't mean that we shouldn't be leaning into pain and leaning into our edge of discomfort in order to find growth and expansion. But to be always sitting in our pain and to be always hurting and to be always pushing and pushing in order to fill what I call this never-ending void of emptiness is simply setting you up to fail in the long run. Now, this is why, basically, how is this setting us up to fail? So when we look at, the type of men that may carry, what I call wound-based masculinity, and some really, really highly successful men. One of them that, I also follow and I've also looked to before for inspiration is David Goggins, who has a mindset of staying hard, of pushing into pain, of staying in the pain, um, which works again to an element, and for an element of time, it will work. Now, when we are constantly pushing into pain, then I would argue that if we are constantly pushing into pain, how much are we actually enjoying the life that we are living? How good is that pushing into pain for our mind? How good is it for our emotions? How good is it for our nervous system capacity as men? And essentially, how good is it for how we're showing up in the world as men? If we have partners, if we have children, if we have businesses, how much are we able to open our hearts and be in love and connection and relationship to other people and to be compassionate not only to others but to ourselves, essentially. Now, this also happens, this type of wounding can drive people to high success when we're looking at the likes of, certain athletes, certainly boxers and men that are in combat sports. They have they have this tunnel vision, this lone wolf mentality of going it alone, of pushing into it alone, of not needing anybody else. And again, this is exposing for me, this wounding of this lone wolf mentality that I don't need anybody. I can do this on my own. And I'm going to show the world that I am worthy, that I am more than worthy of being good enough and being enough. Now, again, looking at athletes, if we were to take this pain away from them, and take this wounding away from them, their pain has become their purpose, but it's how long do they need to sit in the pain in order to reach the purpose. And for a lot of fighters, they will need this pain to fuel their aggression, to fuel their drive, to fuel their desire, their hunger, their ability to get out of bed of a morning and to get shit done and to get after it. Because it's creating movement within their system to get them to move towards the goal because they don't want to continue to feel this pain and they want to prove the world wrong. So it does actually have a purpose and it can create external successes. But where I'm coming from with my message and with my teachings, it is really understanding that wound-based masculinity does not equal happiness. It may equal success in the external world and in your external endeavors, but internally it is gonna be like you are trying to fill a never-ending void of emptiness. That no matter what you get on the outside world, there's still an emptiness inside. There's still a lack of true fulfillment. There's still a lack of true happiness. And there's also a massive lack of embodiment because our vision is pretty much focused on the externals, that we're not looking at our internal world and our internal landscape. We're doing anything other than looking at our internal happenings. So, looking at how wound-based masculinity can affect, firstly, relationships, how that can affect, you showing up as a father, you showing up as a partner, you having friends and a circle of men around you and a circle of healthy people around you that can all equally help you to rise to greater heights and go to greater depth within yourself. Some of the problems that men that are locked in this lone wolf wound-based masculinity will be suffering with relationship problems, will be suffering with showing up as a father, and struggle in them relationship dynamics also, will have an overdrive and an over compulsion to work and overdo, as he's always trying to prove and show himself to be the very, very best at what he does. But he would also be a man who can isolate himself, a man who takes himself away, a man who disconnects from the external world. Now, the reason I know so much about this wounding and about, this lone wolf mentality and wound-based masculinity is because everything I'm talking about right now is something that I used to be and something that I still move through today in understanding, there's a wounded part of me that can show up, that can disconnect, that can push, that can become, over compulsive and addicted to overwork and improving myself. There is also a part of me that loves to be connected, that loves to, work with others, that loves to thrive in community and create, my own internal ecosystem with the people around me, and that wants to be a great father and a great partner. So it's very much, dancing between using pain for your purpose, but equally enjoying the fruits of the work that you are doing and being able to cultivate happiness, success, and fulfillment from the internal to the external. As within, so without. And also, how do we integrate wound-based masculinity and the lone wolf mentality into, our being and into wholeness, if you like, and how we're showing up in the world and in everyday life? Firstly, for me, it is in identifying. Number one would be identifying and understanding your unconscious patterns of when, this wounding is showing up for you. So maybe that may look like when you go into overworking. Maybe it may look like when your relationships begin to struggle and fail. Maybe it looks like that you can't find the time to spend time with your children because you're always overworking and overdoing. And maybe it may look like you not spending time with any other men or any other people, that you're completely disconnecting and keeping yourself isolated. These are key indicators of dropping into wound-based masculinity, and how, we can start to become conscious of these processes as and when they begin to play out in our life. What I would also be looking at is, are you putting yourself as a man in healthy environments where you can be called to greater depths and greater heights within yourself? Now, this would look like becoming part of a container and a community and a brotherhood of high performing, courageous, and ambitious men just like you, who are also wanting to be externally successful, but internally they know that there's more. They know that there is more to life. They know that there is more to themselves. And they know that they are meant for so much more in being able to unlock and reach their full potential as a man. Because with the drivers that have got you this far, imagine being more connected to yourself, how much further you would go, and how much further you would go with a community and brotherhood of men who are all rooting for each other and looking to achieve similar things in their life. It can only, instigate more and more success in our lives. So having a container and brotherhood of men around you that can hold you accountable and create ownership in your life for how you're showing up in all areas is a key component for being able to break free from wound-based masculinity and the lone wolf mindset and mentality. And finally, what I would say is creating a solid structure and routine in your life to be able to start to cultivate the life that you want, whether that is connection with other men, whether that is connection with your family and your relationships, whether that is putting boundaries in place with your capacity and drive for overworking that is being fueled very much by a wound and not from your present, most mature and wise state of being. Because when you're operating from your most present, mature, and wisest place of being, you will speak very differently. You will show up very differently. You will act very differently. You will think very differently, and you will feel very differently. So knowing where you're coming from is so, so important in understanding your actions, your drivers, and your behaviors. And this is, the breeding ground, the building the foundations for true and lasting success in a man's life. And it is certainly a key component in beginning to break free from the unconscious structures that are keeping us bound to the past. And it is allowing us to move forward and build and create a new future, which gives us choice to break free from the lone wolf mindset and wound-based masculinity. So I hope, you've enjoyed this video, and, I've really, really enjoyed explaining my teachings and my understandings of how this can show up in each and every man's life. And, the importance of not taking everything too seriously and having fun with what you are building and having fun with the dynamics of life, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the challenges that we face is super, super important, man. So if you've enjoyed this video, what I'd like to say is, this is going to be a call to action, a call to really address the issues of women-based masculinity, because there is a new paradigm and a new man that is emerging and a new modern man that is emerging, and the game is changing, and we need to start playing life and playing the game of our life and becoming, the greatest project that we work on, which is us. So if you've enjoyed this video and you would like to find out more about the work that I do and maybe work with me in the future, then please shoot me a follow on YouTube, on Instagram, and on all my social media platforms. And it is an invitation to reach out and connect with me, and let's jump on a call and see how I can help you break free from womb-based masculinity and get you firing on all cylinders and becoming the man you know you were born and destined to be.